Hello, I'm your friend Dylan, and I'm here to tell you that a demon apocalypse is happening in 10 weeks, and I think it's going to be really cool. Hello, and welcome back to your friend who likes games. Today I'm going to be talking about the acclaimed Demonschool, one that seems to be enjoyed by quite a few. 500 and some very positive reviews, a game that came out mid to late November. Very Persona inspired from what I hear. I've never played a Persona game, but this game's kind of making me think maybe I want to give them a try, or I don't know, but maybe a smaller version of a Persona game. I've heard those games are quite long. But I haven't quite reached the end of it yet, but I'm about 12 hours in and have been enjoying. It's a great game that is easy to kind of peck at in between or during stuff. One of those kind of click the next line of dialogue or can pause at any moment and kind of jump back in, no problem. So, want to talk about first impressions of Demonschool today and get into the kind of unique parts of it. But before I do that, at the top of the show, I like to talk about some games for your wish list or games to anticipate or think about playing. And this one I'm really curious about. I had heard about this game from the Resties, the Besties side podcast with Chris Plant and Russ Frushtick. Ooh, there it is. And it's called Shrine's Legacy. Some of you may have heard of this game. It has some mixed reviews, and then recent reviews have been mixed, and then all reviews are very positive. Came out in October, and it looks cool. Basically what it is in the Steam description here is, and states, Shrine's Legacy is an SNES era-inspired 16-bit RPG set in the magical world of Ardemia. Follow a pair of heroes as they try to unite the elements of magic, restore the Sword of Shrine, and save the world in both single-player and couch local co-op action. I think that's its big draw is there's two main characters, and kind of invites you to play with someone couch co-op and kind of pitching that idea again as it's something that is valued by a lot of indie developers and a lot of gamers as well. I know it's becoming more popular again to play with a partner or play with a housemate. I'm curious about it. What I had heard from the Resties is that it very much feels like an SNES game. But I think my big concern and worry and curiosity, I guess, is what kind of modernness comes along with this game. Like, is it streamlined and does it feel good? It looks like it feels good to play. It's very like action RPG, where you're kind of moving about a world, solving puzzles and various combat against slimes and things of the like. There's various boss fights. The pixel art looks incredible. The other, I know Russ had asked Chris in the show, like, what kinds of modern parts are there? And he had admitted that, like, it did feel very much like trying to honor the style and structure of an SNES-like game. And he asked about the story, too, and Chris had said that it's not... It's super exciting, kind of a snoozer. I'm wondering if the gameplay alone can push you through that, but I'm wondering how much cruft or writing and that they're trying to develop into this game to build this world of Ardemia. Is it super important, or is the gameplay kind of the shining star? Because for me, like at first look, again, gameplay and pixel art definitely win. Just wondering how much you kind of have to tolerate. If that might be a harsh word, but that's my feeling on it. If any of you have played it, of course, reach out, and I'm curious to know what's going on with Shrine's Legacy. That's my game to think about playing, the one for your wish list this time around. After a quick break here, I'm going to get into Demonschool. Thanks for tuning in today. All right, Demonschool. So what is Demonschool? I kind of hinted at it earlier, but basically it is a tactics-based gameplay, like RPG, in which you play as a character that moves or comes to this island for school and is a demon hunter and knows that a demon apocalypse will be happening in 10 weeks. And their goal is to get rid of these demons in this place. And you are very excited about being a demon hunter. You come to the school and are talking to everybody and trying to gain friends and saying like, hey, guess what? Like, there's demons coming and I'm ready to fight them. And people are like, what are you talking about? But then people start to realize, and you kind of build this ragtag group of, very Stranger Things like group of friends. Kind of fits that aesthetic vibe time period. This one is set, it seems, I think in the late 90s. I think 99, maybe the apocalypse coming like at the millennium, which is funny because I remember a lot of people being very concerned about the millennium, and not for a demon apocalypse, but other things. So playing with that, but it's been said to have been very Persona inspired game, and I could see that. I personally can't connect to that because I haven't played any of those games, but the kind of structure at least sounds like it's similar. But maybe a little more streamlined, maybe a little less nonsense or things that are unnecessary or you have to kind of like swim through or tolerate. This game has very little BS, and it's very efficient in its structure. So, yeah, it's. I want to start with the art style of the game. I have three kind of main things that I want to push or talk about here. And art style is definitely one of them. It's got a unique 3D isometric world to it where it looks like all of the kind of 3D assets were handmade, whether they be like buildings or classrooms or outdoor spaces, and then pixel sprites of characters exist within them. And they did a great job of this. It's like super unique, super iconic for its own sake. It doesn't look like a bunch of assets thrown into a game. It looks like they made it themselves and were really clever with how they did so. The way that they present like action, or like there's an early scene where you're on a boat and it's like this looking very like, I don't want to say crude, but you get the idea of like early polygonal 3D art style where the boat is just kind of crafted in the way it can be, and the way that they have like sky or implied sky in the background, and this layers of they're not afraid to like collage, I think is what I want to say here. It's not like it's like a melding of various art styles, both in like pixel art sprites, the 3D modeling that they kind of hand make, and then like different effects and like ways that they make or imply sky. All three of those things kind of get put together to make something unique and new feeling and looking. And not only that, but the graphic design is like super polished in this game, which is cool. So to me, it's like, obviously today there's technology to make all sorts of games look a variety of ways. Some go for realism, some go for something unique, and this. And not to even mention, like I forgot to mention actually, is the character portraits are like really incredible too. When there's dialogue happening, there's really, really clear looking font, and the pixel art portraits of the characters look awesome with like very thick black shadow outlines and bright colors. And there's all sorts of expressions that they do for various. They're still portraits, much like a Hades. But when they say certain things and have a certain emotion on their face, the character portrait changes to another still image. But super cool. And this game is like really, really accessible, and we'll kind of get into the gameplay more. But I was impressed with its kind of welcomeness to anyone that may have not played a tactics game. It's pretty easy to pick up and understand and have fun with. So. But let's stick with the art style. Like I said, love it. I think it's super unique. And when you go into fight scenes, there's an implied like entering into the demon realm. So you're often fighting demons, and you get into this like isometric tactics grid, but the area surrounding you is often a kind of otherworldly parody of where you were. So if you were in the school building, like there might be desks that are upside down, or various like classroom supplies kind of floating around the outside of you, and it kind of looks like you're floating on this island of this like other realm. And if you're in an alleyway, like the buildings will lift up and kind of float off the ground and have like a unnatural like tilt to them, to again imply another realm. Super cool to see, and kind of get you excited when you enter a fight and you're curious of like what that realm in the graveyard or this new area that you found, like what that will look like. And each one is fairly unique. And some they're repetitive if it's in the same location, but they don't just zip to like some of the newer Pokemon games where no matter where you are, it's just like this kind of blank slate fight area that has like a couple assets in the background that is kind of lazy in regards to design. But this, I find that it's cool to have like a set piece that you are completing your tactics in. I had mentioned the graphic design, and the transitions between different scenarios or going to a different spot, like all of that is like really crispy and clean. The font is really cool. It's very committed, and very unified. The menus look great. There's fun like ways that they very school-like way that they describe your past happenings. Like you can look into your planner, and your character, it's implied that they have set stickers down in their little planner that kind of just highlight like what happened. Like if you met a new character, there'd be a sticker of them, or if you ran into a new type of demon, there might be a sticker of them, or it has stickers that have icons of like story beats that you're working on. It's just like really thoughtful there. I will say in the menus, just as a gameplay thing while I'm thinking about it, there was a moment where I was kind of like, I saw in the corner that like your character could study a new power up. I want to point out that is in the menu that you can hit square in which would be like your most left button. I forget what that is on. I think it's X. Yeah, X on Steam Deck or Xbox controller, maybe. And crossing my fingers. Hopefully you're not yelling at me right now. Maybe you are. Where was I going with that? Oh, right, the menus. So with that, it is within that kind of journal menu that you can have your characters study certain upgrades, and they can affect your kind of power-ups and behavior on the tactics field. But pixel art sprites and a 3D world, totally my jam. I really like the way that this game is presented, and is just a cool thing to look at is in regards to art and your participation in it. Feels good to move around too. It's you don't have to do a whole lot of moving around. The navigation of the game is very like, you click the location that you're going to, and then it gives you that screen wide set piece basically. None of them are too big or too. There's no like big area to move around. It's really just about like getting to the next story beat, talking to the next person, and clicking on the thing. There are side quests and things, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But let's talk about the tactics. So it is a tactics-based game, and that might be a big no-no for some of you. And for me, I was confident, and I'm not incredibly savvy with a lot of tactics-based games. I did enjoy, oh my gosh, not Octopath Traveler. Oh, Triangle Strategy. I enjoyed that game. I had to play it on easy, but I enjoyed the kind of like turn by turn, or you all had a chance to attack, and then they have a chance to attack. You can know what they do, and then you know what you're going to do, and try to keep all your characters alive. Much slower paced in a game like that. This game is kind of a streamlined tactics game where you have your characters, which eventually become 4. That's not too much of a spoiler. It's in the trailers. But you have 4 characters eventually that you use, and they all have different ways of attacking or different like perks essentially that they can do. And you have a certain amount of action points. So certain characters have certain moves, and if you every time you move, it causes them to use a certain action point. So you have to be careful of like how you use them, and also know like what the enemy characters are going to do, which is nice. They're very clear. Like you can put your cursor on top of an enemy character and it'll say exactly what their behavior is. So a common one is like a regular demon that can walk after you or it moves 2 tiles and will give 1 damage to a character. So it's very much like chess in that way, where you know what they're going to do, you know what your characters can do, and oftentimes retreating is advised, especially if you don't want to lose one of your characters. Each of your characters can take 3 hits. So if they do, then you lose them for that round. You don't lose them permanently or have to have any sort of like potion to re-heal them after a fight. You just basically are trying to win the fight and seal that door, if you will, or portal that those sets of demons have opened up. So your goal is to fight them, seal the door, and that keeps them in their realm and keeps our human realm safer. But yeah, so you make all your moves in your planning phase, and then when you're done and have used up all your points, hopefully, you watch it. Then you kind of hold the triangle button and watch it all play out, and then it plays out, and then the enemies get their turn to attack, and then after that, and most of the time, like more demons then show up, and then it creates like a new scenario after you either have attacked or gotten rid of some of the demons. So you're essentially just trying to be efficient with your moves and looking at scenarios of where the demons are placed. Again, very, very chessboardy, and how you can take them out in the most efficient manner. In regards to movement on the tactics board, you can move like each of your characters. When you look in a certain direction, it will show you ways that you can move. So most of the time, and most of your characters can move like, I think 3 to 4 tiles forward. They can move 3 to 4 tiles diagonally, which is really huge, and one that I often forget. Like, you think that you have to kind of attack head on, but you could, come from an angle and attack somebody as long as they line up with that diagonal. And then they offer a sidestep, which is really clutch. Like, you're not locked into completely where you are. And a sidestep offers you either 1 step to the left or right to just kind of reposition yourself. And it doesn't cost a action point, and sometimes can enhance your attack, which is super cool. So it's not being like punishing in any way. It's actually quite fun to kind of quickly figure out what you want to do and try things. Now, speaking of trying things, the whole time in your planning phase, you get to go backwards or kind of undo. If you do something and you realize you run out of action points and your character is way too close to something that might explode, or a character that might attack you, and you're like, wait, I have to refigure that. You're not locked into your choices. You can quite literally plan out a whole attack and then rewind it all and try something else if you find that it didn't work for you, which is awesome. Or you can go back and go forward if you're like, oh, I'll try that. Oh, actually that doesn't work, and then go forward and just do what you were going to do anyway. Super cool and very streamlined, where you can just hit the bumpers and go back and forth, L1, R1, and rewind and go forward, and just makes it very, very quick. And while the game, to me, when I looked at obviously you can tell it's tactics, but it looked very like action combat like, and it can feel that way. It does feel good to like accomplish your plan and be kind of snappy about it. There's no time limit, of course, but it just doesn't feel like your typical tactics game that is very slowed down and tedious sometimes. It's kind of, like I said, streamlined and feels good to just execute. It looked like something I wouldn't understand. I kind of rolled the dice with this one, but it looked cool. It looked like something I wanted to play, so I gave it a go, and I'm glad I did because it's really quite. I'd say it's easy to pick up for anyone that hasn't played a tactics game. I think it does a good job explaining how to do it, and it's not incredibly punishing. Otherwise, I don't think it's a really hard game, but it has just the right level of challenge where you feel good when you're successful. And restarting a battle, you can do it any time too. If you realize you either brought the wrong people or just got yourself in a hole by eliminating a couple of your mates, and then you're in a pickle. So there's no harm in that either. And sometimes a fresh approach or a new tactic will put you in a better place. The demo the tutorial of the game is kind of wordy at first, but important to pay attention to. So just be patient with it and know that it's not always like that. It's only the first encounter, and then all of that tutorial stuff goes away. And just kind of assumes that you remember how to do that. I don't know if the pause menu has. I don't think it does. Has reminders of how to use certain things. It might, and I may have ignored it, but again, it's pretty understandable. And once you get into just like playing a board game with family or friends, once you get into the groove of it, you kind of understand what to do. So yeah, it's sweet. You do get scored at the end of each tactics round, kind of Sega Dreamcast style, where you did your run with Sonic and you're hoping for an S. I haven't gotten an S for any of my scores. I've gotten some A's. I'm very much a C student when it comes to the tactics, and it doesn't affect anything. I mean, it might affect your rewards a little bit, but I really haven't felt punished by not doing quote unquote well with my tactics run. And I think it's just more of for you, if you want to do well and be efficient and get a good score, and kind of brag about it, you could do that. But for me, it's just doing it successfully and moving on to the next story beat. I think that's good for me. I wanted to point out, I mentioned exploding enemies or something that might be environmental in some of these tactics based scenarios is really cool here, that you can kind of use them to your advantage. You can prompt an exploding enemy and it won't explode on the dot, but it'll have this kind of striped red area that implies when this thing explodes, it's going to hurt everything that's inside of it. So it's kind of fun it's actually very fun to maybe get some enemies inside of that red area and then get your characters out of it. And then when it's the enemy's turn, they kind of kamikaze blow up and will hurt any other enemy inside of it. And that could be a quick way to clear out a crowd if you get enough enemies inside of their explosion. Super cool. One of them, and kind of I just want to I guess I'll mention, it's not too spoilery, but that just an enemy type, there's a fellow that is kind of bigger and tethers your enemies, or sorry, your group mates, and that one's kind of tedious because you have to make sure you're not in line of that person, and then they chain you, and then you can't make a move the next round unless one of your pals breaks the chain. But there's some clever ways around that, or ways to kind of try to eliminate them first, so that they don't tether, and then you kind of work after that. It's cool. It's a really repetitive game, but I haven't felt eye-rolly about it yet, where I'm here we go again, because it's fun. I think the dialogue and the writing is super fun, which I'll get into next. I think the not walking around empty spaces to get from one place to another. I'm not wasting time with that. You just click to go to the next area in the menu, and you decide what you want to do. And I was going to say that there are some side quests, and this is kind of a part of the gameplay too, that each day you get kind of prompted to choose the next location, or you hit an arrow that gets you out. Like, you go to the edge of the given area that you are currently in, you get your character to the arrow, you click on the arrow, and then it gives you a list of all of the locations that are in this school and island and world. And there's always a star next to like the main story beat. So if you want to just beeline it and follow that, you can. But there's also like exclamation points when something comes up. And if you want to investigate and do like a little side quest, there is usually tactics fighting involved in that. But again, it's fun, and they reward you with some cool lore or happenings. A particular one of note was, and if you've played, you know, but there's this like bell ringer character that is kind of like not violently possessed, but possessed in the way that they say things to you, or the demon is like saying things to you through this person, and they say like their dialogue gets like flipped back and forth between like demon and the person that's there, and the person that's there is like, what are you talking about? I didn't say that, you know. So it's interesting in that way. But as far as like spookiness and like it's kind of visually weird and crude, and you might see that in some of the boss fights that are illustrated in some of the trailers. Like there's one in the trailer where the skeleton kind of opens up and a brain like pours out of it, you know. So if this style is not quite for you, I'd avoid it there. Or if that kind of gross gore or animated gore is not for you, then yeah, no. But I don't know. I still, with all of the weirdness in it, I think it's an incredibly friendly game. Very like manga and like manga inspired, which I know it is. I guess I know enough. I don't know enough history or the making of, but I know that was a big influence to them in regards to making the game. But yeah, it's friendly and I think very approachable, and I've been having a blast. Let's talk about the writing a little bit, and then we can get into some like final notes that may have not belonged in this little category system that I'm trying to be more organized with. Some of you that have been listening for a while, you know that this show is very like stream of consciousness, just kind of blah about games, but I try to be a little more organized this time. But I think that's also a indicator of how organized this game is. There's kind of three main things that are really going on well with this one. But in regards to the writing, like the world around you doesn't like seem to make any sense, or at least like you and your friends seem to be like the only normal ones. Like that I think that's kind of communicating that there is an upcoming like demon apocalypse, or there's clearly something weird going on in this island. Any like set area that you go to has a few word bubbles around some characters, and you can walk up to them, click them, and there's nothing like important necessarily that is essential that you have to do with those, but you often get rewarded with like them saying some weird things. Some of my favorites, like with that, it's like fun bits of humor. Like if you take the time to go click on those, some of them are just like, I'm here waiting for a coffee, and it, you know, that's very common for a game like this, and I don't mind it. I actually quite like just having something to engage with, and even if it's mundane, it just kind of helps build the world or give a flavor to what is going on or what the game wants to say. But you know, there's a couple that like I want to kind of share, but it's not spoilery, but it's just things like I want to be that bench when I grow up, or I would love to eat that van. It just kind of like offbeat weird stuff that like people say, and you're kind of like, why? But it's fun. And again, they might be kind of possessed or weird, and you don't know, and it's just kind of silly in that way. But regardless, interesting too that like you play as this very like confident and confident and strong female character that gets talked down to a lot by like men of power in this game. You get a lot of like young lady and or like a gal like you shouldn't, which is an interesting flavor that I liked, and it kind of matches her kind of punk rock vibe of like, I don't care what you think of me, I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm a demon hunter, and yeah, like seems kind of has like a punk rock flavor to it, or like anti-establishment of like police and university and even like FBI implied, that the lack of trust in those people, or they kind of tropey with like some of those like authority characters, but I don't think in a bad way. I think it's in a way that is kind of illustrative of what some truth might be in various positions of power. I think it's a really well written game and very efficient. I know I kind of said that already, but it's got no BS, and it just kind of keeps moving along. And it's also like a good book that kind of reminds you what's going on and kind of loops back through the fact that they're hunting demons and there's reasons for it, and it's not too like novel-y or some of these especially like JRPGs can be very like lengthy in dialogue and explaining this world and things that are going on, and someone can go on and on and on. It's very much like one line of dialogue from this person, and then a response from this person, and then a couple things here, and then this person says one thing, and then it concludes, and then it moves on, and then you go to a new context, and then you see what's going on. And it's very like on the surface in regards to storytelling, where it's you as a demon hunter understanding that this apocalypse is going to happen, kind of recruiting and gathering some friends that will help you out and kind of use their powers for good to keep the demons away. And then like quite literally everybody else is kind of either weird or doesn't know what's going on or against you in some way, shape, or form. And you're just trying to fight demons, period. I think that's kind of it. And then you're looping through your tactics battles and continuing to solve little mysteries or investigate what's really going on. And then like just some final notes here. I would say that I really love the soundtrack and would love to just keep playing it on loop. I didn't find an OST anywhere on Spotify, at least. I'm not sure if they sell it here on Steam. Demonschool Deluxe Edition. Yeah, the original soundtrack is available on Steam, so that's cool. Yeah, I really like it, and it's got again Persona inspired I would say soundtrack, but some of it definitely has that kind of eerie fighting evilness to it, but it rocks. It's great, and I'm excited to maybe have that on a playlist somewhere eventually. I like that I haven't really investigated this further, but your party member Newt, who's kind of this nerdy boy, can rent movies at a certain spot and can write reviews about them, and I think they're like real movies. I think they're like real obscure movies that this person is kind of writing about, or they're getting away with that. I don't know how the rights to mentioning that would be, but it seems to kind of be a nod to like 70s and 80s weird, obscure horror films, which clearly have some influence on this game. So, and then you can like interact with the paper that is kind of in the main hub of the area, and you can see his little review on it after he has taken time to watch it. So it's got little extra stuff like that if you like to participate in those things. But again, I don't think this game doesn't demand a whole lot of like physical skill, like a platformer could have or a combat game could have. I think it's just more of a mental game with the tactics part and deciding and making choices to be efficient. But it's a pretty easy play, and one that like it goes really well with like other things that are happening, where you can sit and hang and play on. It's great on handheld. So whatever else you like to do or hang out with a partner or roommates or such, like it's great for that, and it doesn't command too much of your mental energy all at once. You can just kind of play it semi-passively while other things are going on. There is a fishing mini game. I'm not sure the purpose of it other than to have a fishing mini game, which I think a lot of these games it's kind of a trope to have. Maybe there will be some sort of reason for it. And I when I remember to participate in it, I'll pop by and catch fish. It's quite easy, but it's not like a Stardew Valley challenging of fishing mechanic, but it's there, and cool pixel sprites of the fish that you get, much like a dredge, where you're surprised by the weirdness of demon fish that you get. I think this game is just, while repetitive, it's really cool. I'm excited to play a lot more of it and see it through. I don't think it'll be difficult to do so as I continue to kind of peck at it. But knowing me, the next exciting thing can show up, and here we'll be here next time talking about something else. But hopefully by then we get this kind of solidified in there too. And I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. I will say that the boss fights have been visually awesome, and they kind of transform, like a good game does, kind of transforms what is and what you understand of the game and how to play it. And you play it a little bit differently, and you'll see. I'd say that, but just visually cool with how they create those set pieces and what they look like and why is really sick. So yeah, there's some thoughts on Demonschool. I've really been enjoying it. Like I said, I've put about 12 hours in, so that's my assessment after that. And I'm just excited for more. I'm actually curious of how long it is, but I really don't want to look it up because that might taint my experience with it. I just kind of want to keep rocking and see it through. So if any of you have played Demonschool and would like to chat about it, please reach out at Your Friend Who Likes Games on Instagram, or you can comment right here on Spotify on the episode. And thank you for listening, as always. Really cool to connect here indirectly and whenever you're able to listen. Take a quick break, and I just got one more final note for my other stuff section, and that will be the show. So thanks for listening. See you in a couple. All right, the other stuff section. A brief one today. With the recent holiday being Thanksgiving for a lot of us, I spent a lot of time with friends and family this past week, so not engaging in a lot of things other than food and football, of course, very traditional things. But I want to say we had a baby shower this past weekend for our upcoming baby in February. We're excited, but I have a lot of found family in my life. I have a lot of friends and people and peers that have been tremendously helpful in navigating life's tough things, and I know that this is the next one that will be a big challenge, but it will be beautiful for us. I'm just really thankful for the people in my life, and it's not a traditional family. I had that as a couple of friends of mine comment on, like, it's cool that you have such a found family, because family, as you all know, can be complicated, and mine certainly is in a variety of ways. But the ones that I have found in my life and keep are awesome. And I'm thankful to have that support, and I feel safe with the people that are in my life, and again, nothing but thankful. So it's just a small note here to shout out that, and to look around and see what I have, and I'm thankful for a lot of things, of course. And I know that's very generic, but some of you might be feeling that too, or maybe not, and that's okay too. I understand that the holidays can be very hard for some people too. So regardless of how you feel about it, just thanks for being here. Thanks for giving this show a chance. Thanks for showing up or not showing up, but continuing to support the show in any way that you would like, continuing to use the show or value it for what it is. It's been an absolute pleasure to do, and in hopes that I can manage to keep doing it in the future. But I really don't want to label that here or at all. You never know. But I'm doing it now, and I'm excited about it. So let's keep playing the good stuff, and let me know what you have been playing if you are listening and want to chat. I'm always curious about games. There's a lot of them out there. So cheers to that. This is going to conclude this episode on Demonschool, and we will see you next time with another exciting game to talk about. Take care, everybody, and thanks.